All right, this is the beginning of Chapter 5. This is Lesson 5.1, Solving Systems of Linear Equations by Graphing. So basically what we're doing is we're following up our work on linear equations, and we're going to start using it in this idea called systems of equations. So our goal today is to understand what a systems of equations is and how to solve it using graphing. All right, now this first slide, copy all this down, but don't copy this next part down. Just take a look. This is the type of work we've been doing. We've been learning how to take what we know about linear equations or linear functions and to take real-world problems and to understand how to display them in different ways, as a table of data, as a graph, as an equation, and to understand all those parts to it, like, for example, here the slope or the rate of change and how that affects the problem, like on this cell phone problem. This particular problem is looking at minutes on your cell phone versus the cost of your cell phone. All right, but that's looking at things individually, just one cell phone plan in isolation. All right, so in this slide, what we're looking at is a system of equations. What we're basically going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at two different linear equations at the same time. So for example, this line might represent the plan for AT&T's phone plan. This line might represent the plan for Verizon. All right, and so why are we looking at systems? Well, systems is anytime we want to compare two different linear equations. So in the real world, if I'm trying to compare phone plans, or if I'm looking at two different stocks, this graph gives us certain information that helps us in the real world. For example, this point, it represents something. So what information in the real world does this point help us with? Figuring out minutes and cost. What does it mean when the Verizon line is not as steep as the AT&T line? But what does it mean that the Verizon line is above the AT&T line here, but it switches over here? And so that's the idea of systems. All right, so what you're going to put in your notes, starting with the next slide, is you're going to start looking at how to solve a system by graphing, okay, and what that all means. So as I do the examples in the next couple problems, just go ahead and copy that down, and we'll discuss what that means.